recap from the previous videos. Please check them out. How fast is Hunter x Hunter fast in sound, and how fast is Hunter x Hunter fast in lightning. Check out the previous videos for a more in-depth explanation of what I'm about to go over. So, we established that anyone who can pass the Hunter exam would have a perception of 343rd of a second, which would be a speed of sound-based perception. After the arc of the Hunter exam, we have the Heavens Arena arc, where the concept of Nen is introduced properly. Now we later find out from Kurapika that learning the very basics of Nen makes you several dozen times stronger. After this, when Gon is training with Bisky, he's only able to maintain his aura for 2 minutes, while a talented Nen user should be able to hold it for 30 minutes, or about 15 times more. When he's training to be a professional hunter, Bisky tells him that he needs to be able to maintain his aura for 3 hours, or 6 times more than before. Now we can convert these into perception. A standard human perception is 1/60th of a second. Someone who can pass the Hunter exam, 1/343rd of a second. Someone who's learnt the very basics of Nen, and we're interpreting several dozen to be at bare minimum 36 times stronger, so that would be 1/12,000th of a second. Someone who is talented with Nen would be 180,000th of a second, while a professional hunter would be 1/1,000,000th of a second. Now, let's start some speed of light scaling. If we go under the very standard assumption that someone can move relative to their own perception, that would mean that a talented Nen user can move at 185,000 meters per second, which is faster than lightning, which the previous video did prove, so please check it out. Extrapolating to a professional hunter, we would expect around 1,000,000 meters per second, or about 0.3% the speed of light. This is also proven in the previous video with a Phaeton having a feat of 2% the speed of light, or much greater than the standard we've just mentioned for a professional hunter. This can also be proven with Razor's 2 feats of lightning, considering that all of them scale to his clones, and his clones only contain at most 1/8 of his power, considering he spreads his power out evenly between 8 clones. And in the end, he does absorb them all back into himself to do a massive volley against Gon. Razor, he was able to pass the volleyball between his clones and do so fast that this Greed Island arc Nen user cannot see it at all. Using Hisoka in the scene at 1.87 meters tall, we can tell the total distance that was being passed was 34.31 meters. This will give a speed of 423 meters per second. There you go, just a recap from the previous video. 423,000 meters per second is the speed which Razor was passing with his clones. Now he should easily be 8 times more when he's absorbed his clones back into him, making it 3.3 million meters per second, or 1.13% light speed, which is more than the standard for a professional hunter. Gon, speaking of, was able to dodge this very fast volleyball from Razor while unconscious and having no Nen whatsoever. Anyhow, going back to the standard for a professional hunter, which is less than the 2 feats I just discussed, we can now start upscaling further. The baseline for a professional hunter was Gon training to fight Knuckle. When Gon faces Knuckle, Knuckle tells him that his aura supply is 21,500 on his scale. Now, this is useful because we are told that the Royal Guard UP has an aura supply of, at bare minimum, 7 million on his scale, or 325.6 times greater than Gon was at that point in the series. Using this, baseline for UP speed would be 361 million meters per second, or 1.2 times the speed of light. Now this is just scaling, so it is very, very consistent. Now we'll look at some light speed statements and implications. Now there are a lot of implications obviously, but we want to use the ones purely for speed scaling. The main two I'd like to go over are Killua's Godspeed, stating that when it touches his aura he's able to react at the speed of light, as well as Rose Meruem's aura being able to flash at the speed of light. However, I want to explain why both of these are actually faster than light, but the light speed claims are correct at the same time. I'll be going over in detail in just a moment. So, the statement says that Godspeed Killua can catch at the speed of light, so he can. However, the mechanics of what's going on allows his aura to act like his nerve controls instead of his actual hands. So even though this fish is moving so that you would need a light speed reflex on the spot, Killua doesn't have to wait for his brain to send a signal to his hand to close it. Instead, he uses his aura as an extension of his nerves and can shut it instantly. It's like the difference between an endogenic reaction compared to an exogenic reaction, with one being much more faster and more efficient. This also explains how Killua can have light speed scaling with his Godspeed and be faster than UP. It's because things in his aura allow him to react even faster because it's more efficient. Now let's talk about Rose Meruem flexing at the speed of light. Now the issue is not that Meruem scales to the light speed aura. No, that's not the issue. The issue is that Meruem is way faster than it. You see, when Meruem flashes his aura, he's able to blitz outside the entire palace to where Knuckle is and knock him out while his aura is still on. Essentially, he just blitzed his own lightspeed aura while travelling a very far distance. This is best shown in the anime, as I'll show just now. So as you can see, while the flash of light was going on, he blitzed through it and one-shot Knuckle before anyone even noticed what happened. Now let's fix Pitou's jump speed, because this is very controversial. So as you can see, Pitou's jumps from the top of the ant nest all the way to where Kite, Gon, and Killua is, and able to do this faster than Gon and Killua are able to perceive it happen. In fact, not only is Pitou a blur, but so is the missing arm till it slows down. Like any speed feat, we need to know the time frame and the distance. However, since many people have done this differently, and I believe there are some misconceptions on how it's done, I will go over the current methods to explain why they have some issues. First, let's correct the distance, going over a classical proof by contradiction. If you want to know what proof by contradiction is, it says so right here, in a more formal manner, but to me, a proof by contradiction is simply, you show something doesn't work by assuming it works, and then showing that it does not. This is what I would like to use to disprove Pitou's aura being only 2,000 meters. See, it's stated that Pitou's aura is 2,000 meters by more. So this would be by assumption that the largest extension of the aura is only 2,000 meters. Now we're going to show this doesn't work. So if this large aura is only 2,000 meters, we can measure it as 357 pixels, while the ant nest would only be 39 pixels, or 218.5 meters. Here we can see the ant hideout to be 676 pixels, or still 218.5 meters. And then we can zoom in at the trees at the bottom to see the trees are 4 pixels, or about 1 foot in size. Now, hence the proof by contradiction, a full-grown tree is not 1 foot tall. I hope I don't have to prove that to anyone. When a tree is fully grown, it's much bigger than 1 foot. Therefore, the statement of it being 2,000 meters cannot be true for this point in time. Now, is the statement inherently wrong? The statement of it being 2,000 meters tall is talking about Pitou when they are guarding the palace, not the ant's nest. It just means that Pitou decided to suppress the size of their aura while they were at the palace. That's all it meant. Okay? We can see here that this is something you would perhaps say is 2,000 meters in size, because this is at the palace. So let's do this properly with the least amount of assumptions possible. Using the height of Kite at 2.07 meters, and in this panel to be 78 pixels, we can measure a bottom of a tree to be 146 pixels, or 7.5 meters. We can measure the top of the tree to be 120 pixels, or 6.2 meters. Therefore, we can get a total tree, which was 4 pixels earlier, to be 13.8 meters, a much more reasonable size. Comparing that to the ant nest, which was still 676 pixels, we get its size to be 2,462 meters, bigger than the statement of Pitou's aura earlier. Now, using again the ant nest at 39 pixels in this scene, we can see that Pitou's full aura, when it was first shown, is 22,596 meters, or 11.25 times what it was claimed to be. Now, for the second issue, we need to go over the time frame. So, most people, when they do this calculation, assume that the time frame is what the anime showed, or they assume it happened in the reaction time of a normal human being. Let's address both of these. First, the anime time frame is just cinematic timing, nothing more. Cinematic timing, for those who don't know, is just the timing that happens in the anime to to you, the viewer, so that you can actually enjoy it. If this happened in a nanosecond, you would not enjoy it. Second, if you've seen the previous two videos, or honestly watched Hunter x Hunter, you should know that Gon and Killua are both much faster than the average human. And in fact, using information from the previous video, we can infer 3 far more accurate time frames than a human perception. The first one would be a time frame of 0.0001 seconds, because Gon has trained especially to counter Nen-enhanced explosions in his arm. This was done in Greed Island. The second would be the general consensus of the previous video, where we were showing characters were much faster than the speed of lightning, so therefore they should be able to react to lightning very consistently. This would be a reaction time of about 0.00001 seconds. The third one is to simply use the scaling shown at the start of this video and within the previous ones to say that the time frame is within 180,000th of a second, because they are talented Nen users. I will be showing all 3 in this video because I know that each one of these appeal differently to different people. So for those of you who like the idea of Gon reacting to Nen-enhanced explosions in his arm and training to do so, it would mean that the speed of this feat of Pitou's would be 225 million meters per second, or 75% the speed of light. If you like the idea of them scaling to the speed of lightning, instead the speed would be 2.2 billion meters per second, or 7.4 times the speed of light. If you like the idea of the scaling, where you simply scale the perception of characters using statements in the series, so least amount of assumptions, we get 4.2 billion meters per second, or 14 times the speed of light. My personal preference is to go with the scaling that was stated throughout the series, because they're building it up for a reason, so I would say this jump was 14 times the speed of light. Oh, and while we're speaking of it, let's not forget that Pitou later on in the series is stated to be twice as fast as this feat, so that his bare minimum light speed likely over 10 to 20 times the speed of light, using the 2 times multiplier. Now, given all the light speed scaling in this video to characters like Meruem, Godspeed Killua, UP, Pitou, how fast do you think Netero is in this scene? Or perhaps how fast you think Netero is in this scene? So there you go, we have 2 characters who are much faster than light, being Pitou and Meruem, and both of them are getting absolutely blitzed by Netero. So how fast do you think Netero is? Comment down below. Now the conclusion of this trilogy. Part 1, we were simply trying to get a general consensus that characters who pass the Hunter exam should be faster than the speed of sound. Part 2 was to develop a scale of progression of characters throughout the series and show that mid-tiers are very easily faster than the speed of lightning, several times in fact. Part 3 was to show the level of characters, high tiers / royal guard, who are faster than the speed of light, and superior characters like Netero and Rose Meruem, whose speeds massively succeeds both of them. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the other Hunter x Hunter videos. I'm planning to do more Hunter x Hunter content in the future, but for now I think I'll give a rest for some of the speed scaling. I hope you all enjoyed. Check out other videos on the channel, and have a good day. See ya.